We're still getting reaction on the Judicial Service Commission's recommendations of Justice Mandisa Maya to be the next Chief Justice. Maya is currently President of the Supreme Court of Appeal. She was among 4 senior judges shortlisted by President Cyril Ramaphosa. Her appointment would make history as she would be the first woman to be Chief Justice in South Africa. For more on this, I'm joined by legal expert and advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza. Thank you so much for your time, Advocate. We really do appreciate it. I want to start off by asking you how you feel that Supreme Court of Appeal President Mandisa Maya is the recommendation of the JSC, given you were actually mentioned in her interview as being her mentor.
Yeah, well, I feel very glad that she has made it. In fact, I was in a very big conflict about all the, virtually all of them, because especially Judge Mandisa and she, because both of them were advocates in Mthatha when I was an attorney in Mthatha. And I used to give them a lot of work because I was impressed by their extreme intelligence. So when she has made it, and it's not because, you know, she mentioned me in the context in which I now believe she did, I think she's a worthy candidate. May I say this? I found that in various perspectives, all of them were quite worthy candidates. But, you know, if Kenya can have its first Chief Justice in 2021, why can South Africa not have its first justice in 2022? And it's all the more the reason that I am extremely very happy that she made it in the manner in which she did. After 7 hours of deliberation, it appears, even if she, you know, she got a majority vote. Majority is a majority vote, and it registers a winning. In other words, the majority of the commissioners felt that she's the kind of Chief Justice we want at this time.
We actually asked the Judicial Service Commission yesterday in that press briefing what kind of qualities and qualifications they looked for, and they found in Justice Mandisa Maya, but we were told that we cannot be privy to such information. We do understand that Judge President Dunstan Mlambo was the second recommendation after Mandisa Maya won the majority vote to be recommended to the President. But I want us to speak about the kind of questions that were asked. Many said that Justice Mandisa Maya was subjected to sexist questions, and Dunstan Mlambo was asked about sexual harassment rumors without sufficient evidence provided, and those questions were not supposed to be asked. From your understanding, do you think that the JSC this time around performed in a fair manner, open mind, was not biased, and asked the right questions?
I don't know if I want to say this time around, and I don't want to rule from the grave, because you know that I was once in the JSC. Save only to say this. In our time, and I think that is still the case today, if there was a serious allegation of the nature that was put to Judge President Mlambo in our time, and it was going to be an issue that was going to be raised, you were given the courtesy, first of all, of being told that a particular allegation of a serious nature that might impact on your on whether or not we will recommend you for judicial appointment to the position for which you have applied has been made available to us. This is the kind of allegation. You'll be given the allegation itself or a copy of it to be, if it is there, and so that when you come as a candidate, you know exactly that there is something you will have to contend with and deal with in your interview. This was an interview by ambush, because it seems clear now that he didn't know that there was going to be an allegation of this nature. Whether it is true or not, and he has debunked it to say it is not true, but, fairness demanded that he should have been forewarned not to be ambushed whilst he was in the stand coming to meet allegations. And I think, if I heard him well, he characterized these rumors from faceless people. And it was, in fact, from faceless people. That's the one point. The second point, and I think my ex-partner in the firm of attorneys where we're practicing, who was presiding, has been criticized for this. I'm not so sure that the criticism is wholly justified. But I know him. He's a person who has got a relaxed manner, and I think he allowed that kind of line of questioning to take place, even if he probably had a view that it was inappropriate. Now, that's his style of doing things. He wants to see, where is this thing going to? How long is it going to be going in this direction? How long must I allow it to go? Other views are that he should not have allowed it at all. Speaking for myself, I probably would have, I probably would not have allowed it to have the kinds of flags that it had, especially when it was unsubstantiated and the commissioners, had not been indicated to that it was going to be raised, and the interviewee was not indicated to that it was something that was going to be raised. The mere fact that he was able, in my view, to deal with it in the only way he could do is neither here nor there. It should not have been put. It was unfortunate that it was put to him, being an allegation in relation to which there was no proof, or in relation to which there was no proper, placement of the evidence that would be, of the allegation to the person who was going to come for the interview.
Certainly, and I think many argue that the chairperson of the Judicial Service Commission should have not waited so long to expunge all questions and answers related to these sexual harassment rumours posed to Judge President Dunstan Mlambo for that process to have taken so long. But Advocate, I just quickly want to move over to whether or not you are worried or how you foresee things moving going forward. There are threats that there might be legal action from, for example, the Helen Suzman Foundation. CASAC has told us they are not going to go to court this time around, but many are saying there needs to be a redo of especially Judge President Dunstan Mlambo's interviews. Do you think this will serve any significant purpose to redo these interviews?
No. With the greatest respect to the Helen Suzman Foundation, I think there are other remedial measures that he could resort to if Judge Dunstan Mlambo feels aggrieved. To expect that, something which was a novelty, he will remember that it is the first time ever that a position of Chief Justiceship is an outcome of people having been shortlisted after there had been an invitation for those for nominations to be made. You will know that in the past, the president used to nominate a candidate and send the name to the Judicial Service Commission for the person to be interviewed. And the expectation there was that, theoretically speaking, the JSC could easily say after an interview, Mr. President, thank you very much for giving us the name that you gave us, and you nominated that person, but we have interviewed the person. The person, to start with, is not a lawyer, is a scientist, for instance, in that case. So please give us another name. Or the person is so hopeless, the person doesn't meet any of the requirements of Section 174(1) of the Constitution, appropriately qualified, fit and proper and all of that. So that had been the practice. But this time around, the commissioners were spoiled for choice. But it was virgin territory. It had never been done before. So they would have been bound to have been some things that happened in a way in which, for instance, every single candidate was subjected to long hours of interviewing, and that's something that in fact, I remember that Judge President Tlhaledi was asking, so what is going to happen now? Because are we then going to send all 4 names in the order in which we make a preference as to who should be appointed, or do we just send one name without reference to others? So you could see that, in the deliberations, they would have come with a way in which they need to deal with this. Either send one name or send all 4 names in the order in which they have, indicated who should be number 1, number 2, number 3, number 4.
Certainly, yeah. Sorry, Advocate, I don't mean to be rude, but I'm running out of time. I just quickly want to ask you, this recommendation now lies in the hands of the President, and ultimately it is his decision, but a report is going to be written to the President from the Judicial Service Commission with all interviews that had been conducted with all 4 candidates. What happens now? How soon and urgent is it for the President to make a decision as quickly as possible to appoint a new Chief Justice?
Well, I suppose as soon as possible. There's been enough tension as things are through this process. I would imagine that he needs to consult the other political parties in the National Assembly, now that the Judicial Service Commission is sent a name. And after he has done that, then he will make the announcement or the appointment. And that he's not bound by the recommendations of the JSC to appoint Judge Maya. He can in his prerogative appoint whomsoever he feels fits the bill. But if I have to talk about it, Judge Maya is 58 years, and the retirement age is 70 years, and therefore, as the Constitution expects, it's either 12 years. Suppose a judge of the Constitutional Court is there for 12 years, or until they reach the age of 70, whichever comes first. She is an exact and a perfect fit. She's 58 years now. She's there for 12, then she will retire at 70 years. So all the other disadvantages that the JSC pointed out to those, like for instance, Judge Madlanga, 3.5 years, and Deputy Chief Justice Zondo, 2 years, and thereabouts, they don't affect her.
Certainly. Okay, thank you so much for your time. I really do appreciate it. That was legal expert and advocate Dumisa Ntsebeza speaking to us about the recommendation of Judge Mandisa Maya to be the next Chief Justice.